is something that it just keeps coming up for me for the last couple of years. It just keeps coming up. Yes, we see in the news, we see in our communities, all the divorces that are happening. And like, I think that we have a perspective of divorce. We have an understanding of divorce that I don't think is accurate. I believe that there are some situations and circumstances where, okay, that's what has to happen. That's your portion and everything like that. I also believe that there are some people, couples, marriages that are being deceived by the concept of divorce, being deceived to believe that that's what they should do, being deceived to believe that that's going to solve all their problems, when it's not. Like, I don't think that people fully understand the consequences of that. Now, this topic is a tad bit, one might say taboo, because we as people tend to say, why should I do all of that when they're not doing anything? We tend to look at it like that. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm not saying that that's right either. What I'm saying is, I believe that there are some people who giving up would be the absolute worst thing you could do. Like, I don't think you realize how dangerous it is for you to give up on your marriage, to give up on your spouse. I don't think you realize how significant this moment is in your life, in your, like, for your destiny. And there's some people with some children who don't realize the impact this would have on their children. And like I said, this is kind of taboo. Like, some people are gonna be like, oh my God, like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to do the work, because it is work. Like, we focus on ourselves, and that's why we don't heed the voice of God about petitioning, or about fighting for something, or about standing in the gap and interceding for people. We don't talk about intercession, and we also don't intercede for people when their sin and their decisions directly affect us. When their sin and their decisions have an impact on us that leaves us feeling betrayed or abandoned. It's delusional to ever have that expectation of people just because A, we would never do that to them, or B, they hold a certain title in our lives, and so we expect that they would never, they could never, they should never. They're human. That was a lesson that I had to learn. I talked about that, like, they're human. So for us to have this expectation of them to be faithful, to never leave us, to never forsake us, that is a godlike expectation on a human being. It seems like something that's so small, but what if it's not as simple as we think it is? What if it's actually a lot more significant than what we think it is? This experience, so I spoke about widowhood, wilderness, and the experience of widowhood. That comes with it. The feeling of loneliness, the feeling of being abandoned, feeling like it's unfair. In the story of Ruth, Naomi became a widow, but also lost her sons. Ruth chapter 1 verse 20. This is after Ruth and Naomi arrived at Bethlehem, and people were like, oh my gosh, is that Naomi? She says, don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has made me very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why do you call me Naomi, since the Lord has opposed me and the Almighty has afflicted me? My life is much too bitter for you to share, because the Lord's hand has turned against me. The state that she's in is like, dang, like hopeless. Like, what am I gonna do? I have to figure it out on my own. They left me. They died, of course, but they left me. They abandoned me, even feeling a sense of betrayal. And she turns that to the Lord. This experience is like that of widowhood, is like that of a wilderness season. It's very dry, You don't see any hope. You don't see any reason to continue on. You don't see any reason to continue to have faith. And you very well may feel like the Lord has turned his hand against you. It is an experience that could make you feel bitter. All of those things. Even still, there are some people that the Lord is calling to walk with him through it. Let him lead you and guide you. Like, let him give you that experience of the children of Israel. I am leading you out of this place that you probably didn't even realize was captivity for you, with your perspective of marriage, with your understanding of marriage, with your desires of marriage. So the idea of divorce, people are like, okay, I'm just gonna divorce because the one I got right now just ain't cutting it. Okay, so I'm gonna just go get me another one. But what if the Lord wants to give you another man, but not another man? Not a completely different man in the physical, but instead he wants to make over your husband. But he also wants you to partner with him, but also watch it happen. Could you imagine the way that would shape your faith? That you could say, I watched this miracle unfold. I watched this transformation, but not just watched it, not just witnessed it, but I experienced it myself. I had a hardened heart. I was bitter. I was prideful in my heart, and the Lord changed me, not just my husband. God doesn't just want to change the other person. He wants to sanctify both. This is the time where God is calling his daughters to truly be women from 1 Peter chapter 3. Let's read it. In the same way, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands, so that even if some disobey the word, they may be won over without a word by the way their wives live when they observe your pure, reverent lives. We can't experience that because we women give up. We women give up. The disappointment is just too much. The betrayal is just too much. And we reach a point where we start to see our husbands as our enemy, and we treat them as such. And they're not our enemy. We're supposed to function as a team in marriage. Sometimes one person, an individual on the team, is experiencing or dealing with something, and it affects how they show up. It affects how they participate. But does that mean that, oh, we should just throw the game? Oh, I should just let the rest of my teammates down because this one person? When you have kids, y'all are a whole team. And no, it's not fair. I'm not gonna sit there and try to explain that away, because I think that's a very valid, I'm gonna call it an emotion, to feel like this is very unfair, Lord, that you would put this on me. Why would you put this on me? I went through that experience. Like, I don't wanna pray for this man anymore. I feel delusional to sit here and pray for somebody who, from my perspective, you're intentionally hurting me. Because if you weren't trying to hurt me, you would just fall in line. Like, we wouldn't be going through this. And the Lord had to show me that, baby girl, the issue is not with you. The issue is with me. He's not in line with me. Until he gets in line with me, he will never be in line with you. Perhaps God views marriages in a certain light that we continually dismiss and take for granted. We don't see the significance of the marriage covenant and the family unit. And so we don't treat it as something that we should treasure and we should protect and we should fight for. Have you, ladies, considered that the Lord joined you with your husband not so that he can do anything for you, but because you have a heart that will intercede for him? Because you have a heart that the Lord can mold and shape and transform to be soft and gentle towards him in all of his ways? Have you considered, ladies, that the Lord trusted you to be the one to intercede for him in this time? Have you considered that? Or is the pain just too much for us to focus on really what's happening? I feel like we're asking the question, God, how could you allow this? God, how could he do that? God, how could my life look like this? But we're not asking the question, why is this happening? So that we can really get the lesson, so that we can really get what we need out of the experience. I encourage you to take this to the Lord in prayer. Don't just take my word for it, but take this to the Lord in prayer. I hope this encouraged you the way it encouraged me. And until next time, guys, remember, it's a daily journey.